So yeah, if this is part 2 of the podcast, everybody, and we now have Ellie on. And Ellie, as you know, threatened in the intro, we are going to make comments about the weather because Anastasia and I, are somewhat jealous of the fact that you are in wonderfully warm New Zealand right
Yes.
now, and we are stuck in freezing New York and snowy England.
I'm so sorry, but at the same time, I know it's flipped the other way around when you guys are in summer. So I had to do my duties this past 6 months. Well, really before then. But yeah, no, I'm sorry that you guys are stuck in some snow right now.
Ellie, welcome to the Ground Pass podcast. If people don't know, I have a thing where, well, first of all, Nick introduced me to you. He introduced me to your content and your channel, and I've been following you ever since. But literally, your handle name, which is Elliemajelly, it's like my happy word.
Oh.
So if I'm ever feeling sad, I'm just like Elliemajelly.
Oh,
and it just makes me see. It makes me smile. So weird first question, but how did you come up with Elliemajelly?
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's a good question. I don't think anyone's asked me that before. And Nick, thank you. Shout out for showing her the world of Elliemajelly. But the name is actually quite funny. So I wanted to change the name to my full name, which is Elliemajelly. But my dad had advised me, he was like, he works in IT security. So he was like, don't put your full name. Shouldn't be putting that on the internet, blah, blah, blah. So I'd actually gotten this nickname because I played soccer my whole life. I got this nickname probably when I was like 12 playing soccer. And this one girl, her name was Emily, and every time that I would rock up to practice, she would go, Elliemajelly, like would just like joke around with my name all the time. And back in when I was 12 years old, I was thinking of an Instagram handle name, and I was like, oh, what would be a good one? And I'm like, oh, Emily always calls me Elliemajelly. I should just put that. And the name really stuck the whole time. And then I made my YouTube channel, and I was like, let's just keep it running with Elliemajelly. So yeah, it's a little bit of the story behind it.
I love it. It is so fun and really just genuinely makes me smile every time. And that is my purpose in life, is to find things that make me smile and keep them around. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh, that means so much. Thank you.
So you've told us a little bit about yourself there, but we're a tennis pod, and people might be asking, well, why is Elliemajelly on the tennis podcast? So what is your relationship to tennis and the tennis world?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is all through my boyfriend, James Watt. So before him, I literally knew nothing about tennis, and like we'll probably get into that later, but just had no interest in it. But then we started dating in college, and he just kind of opened my mind up to the world of tennis. So 6 months ago, I decided to quit my corporate job and then travel and work on the road so that I could just document everything about the tennis space and put it all on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. And I've been absolutely loving it. So the introduction to tennis has been amazing. I'm happy where I'm at.
That seems like a pretty big jump to sort of leave the corporate world, travel the world with your boyfriend who plays tennis. What was your reasoning behind it?
Yeah, it was actually funny because it was almost to the date last year. It was during the ASB Classic tournament, which was actually a week earlier last year. So when we were at that tournament, it was my first time actually traveling with James on a professional setting. I'd always watch every single one of his matches. I was that girl who was walking around with like her phone just sideways, like watching a live stream, as I'm sure you guys have been doing too before. And I was always so supportive from afar, but I'd never really done it in person. So when I actually got to go to Auckland for the first time and like see everything in person, and it was also an ATP 250, which I'd only seen really the Australian Open, and that's just like, a whole different level. But being able to, be so close to him, support him physically there, actually get to talk to him after matches and not be on a FaceTime, everything just kind of clicked for me, where I was like, I want to be around this so bad, not only like to support him, but also a little bit selfishly, because I was like, this is so fun and I'm enjoying like every single aspect of it. So that was kind of where I made the decision, where I was like, okay, I'm going to put my head down, work as hard as I can for the next, however long it takes to save up enough money so that I could self-fund. Because the thing is, I didn't want James paying for me the entire time. And Nick, you raise your eyebrows at that too, which is like a bit surprising because a lot of people think that, maybe someone is helping out or anything. But it was all just like, okay, I just need to work as hard as I can, set myself up for success, work on the YouTube a little bit harder, work with freelancing a little bit harder, just so that, 6 months, I ended up doing a little bit faster than I thought, but 6 months down the line, then I was able to quit my job to go travel with him. So big scary decision, but at the same time, like, I'm so happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, what is it that inspired you to make content about this journey? Like, did you kind of go to that tournament and went, well, this would be great to do, like, cover as a content creator? Or did you kind of go, was it kind of a more gradual process of connecting the dots?
Yeah, so I'd always loved YouTube specifically, and I had actually started my channel when I first moved back to Australia. Sounds a bit confusing, but I was born in Australia, lived in America for 15 years, and then moved back. And I wanted to document that journey anyways. So when I was documenting everything on YouTube, I was having so much fun with it. And I was just talking about what it's like to, know this Australian content or know all about Australia. So because I loved YouTube so much, I really wanted to bring that to tennis as well. And I could see the aspect of it because for myself, when I was looking for content around tennis, like when I first started dating James, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm going to dive into this world and learn more about it. I felt like compared to other sports, it wasn't at the same level as what it could be. And, I would see some of the other wags and like see the type of content that they were posting. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, look at the lives that they get to live, look at the angles. And I'm like, I want to know how I would do that. Because I feel like for them, sometimes it can be very polished, very organized, since a lot of the time they're dating guys who are in the top 10, top 20. It just has a different look to it. But the content that I would make would be a little bit more like on the ground, a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic because I think their content is definitely still realistic, but just provide my own lens to it and just show off like what tennis could be from like, I feel like a normal girl.
Yeah, kind of a bit more of a grassroots perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you've got the glitz and the glam of what a top player life looks like. And, we've seen that. I think, when you mention other content creators who do something similar, I think there's probably one name that jumps into our head immediately. But then you've got that aspect of, we're looking at what life on the tour is really like. And I think you're right. This is something that is kind of lacking in the tennis space a little bit. And I think what I really liked about your content when I first came across it, which is why I introduced it to Anastasia, was you were kind of bringing like what it's like to be around tennis and be around the smaller tournaments in tennis from the perspective of someone who's also discovering the sport at the same time, which is kind of crossing markets with us. And I thought it was really, really cool. It's like, okay, it's not an insider trying to share something here. It's someone who's coming in and trying to bring us with them. And I thought that was really, really cool.
Thank you.
And I have some questions about what it's like. What's it like sharing like life on tour, basically?
Yeah, I absolutely love it because, like a lot of people, my dream as a kid was to be a YouTuber. I think nowadays there's definitely a lot of people who feel that way, but I just remember being 12 years old. I was given a little flip camera by my dad, and I was like, I just love this stuff and I love making videos. He gave me After Effects as well as a kid, so I was playing around with like fire in my hands and like cloning myself. It was so fun. But I kind of fell out of it, when I was, working and going to school and playing soccer and all that. So being able to come back and really like use those skills now on tour I feel like it's my inner child just coming out again, because I'm like, I finally get to use all these skills that I worked so hard for at 12. And I just find it absolutely so fun. Obviously, it's challenging at some times because I think you want to find the balance of being present while also sharing everything. And I think as content creators, you're constantly dealing with that battle because sometimes you're like, I just want to go to a tennis match and I just want to enjoy it. I don't want to think about it. I just want to be there, be present. And especially when I'm there to support James, that's kind of a place where I'm like, oh, it's a tough line, because if I'm sitting there like, hey guys, I'm at James's game today, blah, blah, blah. And he just, maybe missed a big point. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even catch that. Like that would be so bad. And I would feel terrible because that's not what I'm there for. Like, really. So yeah, it's definitely a hard line to bounce across because you want to be respectful, but you also see the value in showing people. And I enjoy showing people and demonstrating everything, especially like you said, Nick, before, just having an outside perspective where I've come from a soccer background, right? Like I played Division I in college, and in that space, it's such a different sport compared to tennis. So yeah, being able to discover it, show it, I think that's so much more valuable sometimes than, me enjoying the moment. But at the same time, I like to make space for when I can't enjoy the moment.
Yeah. That's cool. I like listening to you talk about sort of like that childlike
Yeah.
kind of remembering what you loved as a kid and just wanting to do more of that and finding that in what you're doing now. But it's funny because, and we'll talk about this later on when we get into what's going on in the news right now, but tennis vlogs or people covering tennis from behind the scenes has just become a thing. I think Nick was alluding to Morgan, who I think really started this, Taylor Fritz's girlfriend, of following him behind the scenes and stuff. But she has definitely come across some problems that she's talked about before, where it's like some tournaments have these rules and other tournaments have these rules and this tour has that rule, and has found it hard to always be able to cover the tennis and the behind the scenes. How has it been for you? Because you're also covering lower level tournaments, which are a little different than what she was doing with the Grand Slams and 1000 level events and all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I was actually quite surprised when I heard about the rules around the ATP and recording things. Like, I made a whole video on my own YouTube about it because I was like, what do you mean? Like, you can't record this and they're sending like cease and desist emails to take things down. Like, I just found that so absurd because in comparison, when I go to a challenger tour, there are absolutely no rules. It's like the Wild West of like content, because I'm like, I can record anyone, there's nobody telling me off. I've never had anyone say like, oh, don't record this. I obviously have my own kind of barriers with that, where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to record people around in the player lounge, and if someone doesn't want me recorded, I'll absolutely respect their boundaries. But really, it's just like kind of anything I can do. But that's where I'm a bit concerned now, because James is top 100. He's like, moving up to these higher tournaments. I'm like, how is it going to be recording the content when I'm actually like at the ATP side? So I'm kind of battling with that for the ASB Classic, which we have coming up next week. So I'm like, oh no, I've been just free range, like, I'm like a free range chicken, like put into a little cage. Like, I'm like, what is this? So yeah, we'll kind of see how we deal with that with the content, because especially too, like I can record full like gameplay, like I can just have my camera up and nobody says anything. So that's what I'm a little worried about with the ATP side, because like they literally have on the back of your accreditation, like you are not allowed to film in these areas. And I'm like, I don't really want to mess around and find out and get taken down. So
no, you do not. But it's funny you say that, because I've had similar issues. I think at the end of last year, when that sort of blew up, in the sense that there were a lot of people talking about sort of like this social media restrictions and things like that on the ATP and WTA tours, and also the Grand Slams. But kind of just like you, I've had the same experience where when I go to sort of lower level tournaments like 250s, it's challengers, they're not that much, there isn't that much restriction. But also, you also kind of have to, use your creativity and things like that, and find creative ways to still shoot. Obviously, because of the rights holders, there's no tennis play being shown. But I was like, guys, there's ways to do it where you're not showing tennis play and you're not like in the face or in the lounge being like, I'm here, but you can still create content around tennis tournaments. I wish it was a little bit more free, but I still think there are ways to do it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I so agree with you.
Yeah. And the players probably wish it's all a bit more free as well, because they have been saying themselves, like the players themselves can't share any footage of what they're doing. Like they're not even in on the party, which is like, that's the level of restrictions. I did have a quick question, Anastasia, about your, before you ask your one, Anastasia, to you, Ellie, about your accreditation, because you're getting into these tournaments. And I was kind of curious as sort of, what do you go in accredited as? Because I know for like I hear a lot of stories behind the scenes of like players' partners having to come up with all kinds of roles to say, oh yeah, I'm this.
That's so funny.
For this person to be able to get in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's actually such a good question. My mom asked me the same thing recently. She's like, what do you go in as? So when you actually sign into, there's like a Player Zone app, and that's where you put in your accreditation, and you'll say like, oh, I'm bringing my trainer, I'm bringing this person, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, James is not at that level where he can, bring his coach, maybe it'll be coming soon. But I literally pick whatever I want. So he'll be filling out everything, and he'll be like, Ellie, what do you want to be this week? And I'm like, I'm feeling but I think I'll go with agent. I prefer agent because I think it sounds really cool. And I'd be like, I'll get him some deals, like blah blah blah, like get him some content deals, and yeah, it's literally whatever I want. So you only have a couple options, I think, but yeah, just like to mix it up.
That's so funny. It's like,
Yeah.
I am his chef.
Yeah,
His
right.
personal
I wish they
chef.
had that as an option. Or he'd be my chef. I think he does more of the cooking.
So you talked a little bit there about how things are changing for James. Now he's top 100 compared to last season. So how does that affect your content plans for 2026? Like, what are you looking to do different this year that you didn't do last year?
Such a good question. I think I'm still trying to figure it out myself a little bit. Especially because it's a new world. I've only been creating content on the tour for 6 months, really. And most of that was just in the 4-month period because we had a little bit of that off-season time. I definitely would just like to keep up with my constant posting already. So I post weekly to YouTube, and I've been aiming for daily on Instagram, but obviously that can, be tough with the reels, and things also have to be going on for me to record. So for example, James is in New Caledonia this week and I'm here in Auckland, like just getting ready for the ASB Classic. So I'm like, okay, I'm not physically there, which can be a little bit tougher to record. But at the same time, yeah, I'm just excited to post more, maybe interview people like you guys are doing now, and just show more and more of behind the scenes. I've been working a bit on more of like social commentary around tennis. So I've been uploading that to my same YouTube channel, which I normally would just do vlogs. And that has been super fun, like just criticizing about, how social media is being run in tennis, the money or distribution around tennis as well. Like, I just find that side of it so interesting. And especially as someone who's learning it, but also on the inside at the same time, I think it provides like such a fun angle. Just post a lot more about that stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to all of that content then, because I think that sounds like it's kind of the same, but also going bigger. And it's been really interesting, like the commentary you've been providing. Again, like you did some really helpful deep dives into what it's really like for players earning money or travel. The travel side is obviously something that you do a lot of content of, and you're kind of living a lot of tennis fans' dream of being able to not have to have to be able to fly around the world, not even like supporting one player, just going to different tournaments and getting that experience. So it's
so true.
The fact that you're kind of going to do more of that, but also we might get to hear more from other people on the tour. That's really, really exciting. And actually on that, obviously you've got a lot of plans, and obviously a lot is going to depend on James's ranking and scheduling there. But is there a tennis tournament that you're most excited to go to, either a new one or an old favorite?
Oh, that is such a hard question, because it's like, how do you pick out of all of them? I've heard really good things about Indian Wells, and I know a lot of my friends are around that area. So I think that would be absolutely so fun to go to. At the same time, I'm honestly just so excited for next week, which is the ASB Classic, because I'm familiar with it. I feel a little bit more experienced now. I'm like, oh, this is my second like ATP event supporting James at. And I think their energy is just so strong. And it kind of gives a bit of that Australian culture, which I'm very familiar with, over to New Zealand. At the same time, though, I think the front runner would be Australian Open, for which one I'm most excited for, because that's like my home tournament. I actually, fun fact, this is kind of fun, but I used to live in Richmond, which is a city, or it's like a suburb right outside of Melbourne, the city. It's like, maybe 5 kilometers out of the city. And I used to walk to work where my office was in the CBD. And when I would walk from my house, I would actually walk past the Australian Open courts. And James was just starting his career. He was maybe like 6 months into it. And as I would walk past, I would look over at the Australian Open courts, and I have a specific court in mind where I'm like, I think James is going to be playing at this court. And this was before he was like even doing well or anything. I just had this idea. And so I've almost like manifested it every single time that I would walk past and go to work in the morning. So I think like I'm so excited to see that full circle, because I'm like, wow, I was just hoping that he could get there only 3 years ago, and look at him now. So hopefully it's at that court. If it's true, I'll think I'm a witch or something. I don't know. I'm like, I did that. It's like, it's not any of my work, but
that's like really, really cool. Well, I mean, Ellie, it's been so great, like getting to know you and getting to know all about your content and James. And I'll leave obviously all the links in our show notes for your YouTube channel and Instagram. And it's just been fun following you through this journey. It's been really great. And it's just been really great seeing the other side of it. because I've told Nick this, we've talked about it a bit, where it's like we want 2026 to be the year of the small tournament. Like I think so many people feel left out of tennis. Like it's just this sort of like elite thing that they can't afford to go to and they can't really experience. And I want to be like, no, there's so much accessible tennis with top players, and I think everyone should be attending a tournament in person, and I think it's totally possible to do that. But Ellie, we're going to move on, but you're staying, right? You're staying with us.
I'll be hanging
Excellent.
out. I'll be listening.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys.